His name was Marcus Williams. From the first day he stepped through the gates of St. William's Academy, an elite all-white school, he was treated as an outsider. The students didn't see Marcus, they saw only his skin. They mocked his hand-me-down clothes, whispered cruel names in the hallways, and shoved him when no one was watching. But what cut deepest wasn't the cruelty of the students. It was the teachers. The worst of them was Mr. Whitaker, the principal. A tall, balding man with sharp wrinkles carved into his face. Whitaker didn't just ignore Marcus, he humiliated him. One afternoon, standing in front of the entire class, he leaned down and said, This is what failure looks like. Remember Marcus Williams, a nonentity. And never do well." The class erupted in laughter. Marcus didn't cry. He didn't fight back. He sat there, his face stone, but inside, he carved those words into memory. At night, in his small bedroom, Marcus replayed every insult. But instead of breaking him, it forged him. While others slept, he studied. While they partied, he worked. Every book, every late-night job, every ounce of pain became fuel. Years later, the boy they mocked had become unrecognizable. At 28, Marcus Williams was a name in financial magazines. He drove cars his bullies could only dream of. He signed contracts men twice his age couldn't even negotiate. He was the youngest CEO in the province, and soon the press crowned him the most eligible bachelor. It was at a glittering gala that his past collided with his future. There, under golden chandeliers, he met Evelyn Harrington, the stunning daughter of the province's most powerful family. With her blonde waves and piercing blue eyes, Evelyn was untouchable, desired by every man in the room. But her gaze fell only on Marcus. The boy once called nothing now stood at the side of the most sought-after woman in the province. For a moment, it felt like justice. But Evelyn came with shadows. Her father, Charles Harrington, was the patriarch of the province. A man of silver hair, polished suits, and eyes colder than ice. Years ago, Charles had once sneered at Marcus in a hallway, saying he would never amount to anything. Now, Marcus shook his hand in front of cameras. But the contempt in Charles's eyes had never left. The deeper Marcus stepped into the Harrington's world, the more he saw the cracks. Conversations ended when he entered rooms. Doors were locked, documents hidden. And then he found it, a file tucked in a drawer, torn at the edges but intact. Against his better judgment, Marcus opened it. What he read froze him. Fraud, bribes, fortune built on destruction, lives ruined, and at the center of it all, Charles Harrington. The empire wasn't built on brilliance. It was built on corruption. Marcus stood there, the file heavy in his hands, his heart hammering in his chest. Because now he knew, this wasn't just a family secret. It was a weapon. Expose it, and he would destroy the Harringtons. Hide it, and he would betray himself. And as he stared at Evelyn, the woman who loved him, Marcus realized the truth. One choice could ruin them both. The other could damn him forever. Marcus could have gone public. He could have ended Charles Harrington with a single leak. But instead, he played a longer game. He didn't destroy the Harringtons. He controlled them. With the file in his possession, Marcus became the silent power behind their empire. Charles Harrington, once untouchable, now forced himself to smile for cameras beside Marcus, the man he had once called worthless. At first, it was intoxicating. The boy who was humiliated in school now pulled the strings of the most powerful family in the province. The bullies, the teachers, even Whitaker, they all lived to see Marcus at the top. But the victory came at a cost. Evelyn, once his light, now looked at him with fear. His laughter had hardened into smirks. His ambition had turned to obsession. And though she loved him, she feared what he was becoming. Meanwhile, Charles Harrington plotted in silence. He was no fool. He gathered allies, whispered in boardrooms, and waited. And then one night, it happened. Marcus walked into a meeting expecting obedience. Instead, he found betrayal. His allies gone. His accounts frozen. The file turned against him. And at the center of the betrayal stood Evelyn. Tears in her eyes, but the family crest on her chest. She had chosen blood over love. For the first time since boyhood, Marcus felt powerless. But what they didn't know was that Marcus had already prepared for this. He had sent encrypted copies of the Harrington secrets to journalists. Evidence was already in the hands of judges. And within days, the Harrington empire collapsed. Charles Harrington, once a titan, was disgraced and ruined. His fortune stripped. His name blackened. Evelyn, left in the rubble of betrayal, could only watch as Marcus walked away. Marcus had won. He had risen higher than anyone imagined. But the taste of victory was bitter, because in the end, he stood alone. Years later, Marcus turned away from wealth and power. He found himself back in classrooms, not as a student, but as a mentor, speaking to children who looked like him. Children dismissed as he once was. "You are not nothing," Marcus told them. "You never were." And in those quiet years, away from cameras, Marcus found what money and power could never give him: peace. He found love again. Not through status, not through revenge, but through someone who saw him. Not the empire, not the headlines, not the scars, just him. The boy they called a nonentity had become the man who learned the greatest truth of all. The real victory was never revenge. The real victory was peace.